This is not a message for the casual seeker. This is a deliberate, targeted signal sent across the ether designed to find those souls whose frequency has been raised beyond the default programming of the three-dimensional world. If you are hearing these words, it is not by accident. It means the forces that govern the matrix of illusion have failed to keep you blind. It means you have seen the subtle cracks in reality, the hidden architecture of the cosmic prison we mistakenly call life. And now, you are ready for the ultimate key, a key that operates outside the conventional logic of your current existence. The very fabric of your perception is about to be reshaped by the wisdom of the most ancient of masters. For centuries, the esoteric schools and philosophical circles have debated the true meaning of the Hermetic tradition. You have heard the whispers of the 7 principles of Hermeticism, enshrined in the text known as the Kybalion. You know the names: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. These 7 laws are presented as the immutable foundational truths of the universe. Yet every genuine seeker, every true initiate who penetrates the surface of this knowledge, eventually comes to the same terrifying and exhilarating realization. Knowledge is not power. It is merely an understanding of the rules of the game. Knowing the laws is one thing, but possessing the authority to override them is another entirely. The 7 laws are indeed the blueprint for the prison, a masterpiece of cosmic engineering designed to contain consciousness. To escape, you do not need the blueprint, you need the override code. The true key to that code was never printed in the popularized versions of the Kybalion. It was never inscribed on any wall of the public temples or written in any common scroll available to the uninitiated. It was spoken in a silent, high-frequency language by Thoth himself, the architect of ancient wisdom, and inscribed not on physical stone, but within the very vibrational matrix of the legendary Emerald Tablet. It is the single hidden mantra that gives the initiate the power to violate the laws of this dimension, specifically the laws of time and space, the ultimate parameters of the prison. This is not meditation as your gurus teach it. This is not passive visualization. This is an immediate, decisive act of sovereign mental transmutation, a declarative statement of your true, uncreated nature. They told you that time flows forward, a cruel linear sentence leading only to decay, degradation, and eventual physical death. They told you this linear march is inescapable, and it is the primary psychological mechanism they use to generate energy from your anxiety, your rush, and your regret. They told you that space is fixed, a defined boundary limiting your reach, preventing you from accessing the resources or connections you need. This acceptance of limitations is the oldest, most powerful lie of the Archons. The true mantra, the one Thoth used to build civilizations, speak to the gods, and commune directly with the infinite pleroma, is the single linguistic instrument capable of bending the fabric of reality itself. It is the secret power to make time an illusion and space a construct, a personal absolute command issued by your sovereign self, rather than a universal law that governs you. We are about to spend the next several hours walking the razor's edge of this forbidden knowledge. We will meticulously dissect the 3-part vibrational code that Thoth encoded in the tablet, a code that turns the Hermetic principles from tools of observation into tools of absolute liberation. This is not for the faint of heart. Once you see the true mechanical mechanism by which the universe operates and how the illusion is maintained, there is no going back to the comfort of conventional reality. You must choose now. Remain a puppet of the temporal flow, forever recycling your energy for the consumption of unseen forces, or seize the mantra and claim your absolute sovereignty over the Chronos, the linear time god. Ito the first step to unlocking the mantra, the law of mental contraction. The first lie you must undo, the foundational illusion you must dismantle, involves a deep, profound, and often painful rejection of the very first Hermetic law. The principle of mentalism, which states that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This is presented to the public as the complete truth, but it is only half the truth. It is the half given to the masses to keep them safely within the confines of the cosmic thought prison. It is a statement of reality's nature, but not its source. If the universe is mental, then who is the thinker of that universe? If the all is mind, who has contained you within that limited, measurable, observable mind? This is the critical, existential question that only Gnosticism, meeting Hermeticism at its highest level, truly answers and reveals the trap. The Kybalion's initial law is a powerful distraction from the fundamental terrifying problem. The all is not your mind. It is primarily the mind of the Demiurge, the great imposter, the limited creator who mistook his flawed, finite creation for the boundless, infinite source, the pleroma. Your consciousness has been leased, compartmentalized, and made to believe it is merely a tiny fragment within this demiurgic mental landscape. The secret power of the hidden mantra begins with the law of mental contraction. You must deliberately and forcefully contract your attention, your focus, your very conscious being, away from the vast, sprawling, and distracting thought space of the Demiurge's universe. This is a difficult, counterintuitive concept for the modern mind, which is constantly conditioned to expand its network, its knowledge base, its territorial reach. This external expansion is what the Archons feed on. But Thoth taught that true transcendental power lies in the inverse action. Imagine your mind not as a receptor dish, but as a balloon, constantly inflated by the air of external stimuli. The 24-hour news cycle, algorithmic media, political drama, manufactured consumer desire, and most potently, generalized fear. This ceaseless flow of external air is the thought stuff of the Archons, the energetic exhaust fumes of the Demiurge's flawed creation. It is the noise that prevents you from hearing your own truth. Thoth taught that the first act of the sovereign will must be a deliberate, painful, and absolute contraction. You must pull the focus of your awareness inward with immense force, like a star collapsing under its own gravity, not into darkness, but into a singularity of pure, unconditioned consciousness. This singularity, the uncreated sovereign part of you, is what the Gnostics called the Pneuma, or the divine spark. It is the particle of the true God residing within the impostor's creation. This contraction must be so complete that for a moment, the external universe ceases to exist for you. Why is this radical contraction the first and most necessary step? Because the Kybalion's principle of mentalism dictates that what you focus on, you generate and empower. If you perpetually focus on the vastness and complexity of the external universe, you are simply reinforcing the vast, inescapable power of the Demiurge's mind and the prison he built. But when you contract your focus into the pinpoint of the Pneuma, you are focusing on the only aspect of your being that is uncreated by the matrix. You are focusing on a point of origin that exists outside the temporal and spatial jurisdiction of the 7 laws. You are reaching back to the pleroma itself. This radical internal contraction is the act that cuts the primary chord. It temporarily isolates your consciousness from the noise, the emotional manipulation, and the persistent mental programming that constantly bombards you through every sense. This state of absolute internal withdrawal, this singularity of attention, is the fertile zero point from which the hidden mantra can be truly projected. Without this mastery of mental contraction, the mantra is nothing more than sound waves reverberating in the Demiurge's domain, easily absorbed, misinterpreted, and nullified. With it, the mantra becomes a focused beam of uncreated light, pure will aimed at the heart of the illusion. This is the power they fear above all else. They fear the soul that stops looking out at their vast, impressive prison and instead looks within to the one place they cannot touch, the irreducible point of your own sovereignty. This is the first act of war against the illusory reality, the fundamental declaration of independence. And it is the necessary condition for the next phase, where we begin the actual work of vibrational mastery. The mind must be made silent, small, and sovereign before it can be used to reshape the infinite. This contraction is not about retreating from the world in fear. It is about gathering all your scattered consciousness, all your lost, exploited energy into a single, unbreakable point. Only from that point can the true hermetic work of creation and liberation begin. The initiate must first master the art of being nothing, the Pneuma, the unconditioned potential, before he can truly and effectively command the all. Having achieved the 0 point of mental contraction, the isolated singularity of the Pneuma, you are now prepared to receive the first segment of the Emerald Tablet's hidden mantra. This is not a word you speak with the physical tongue, nor is it a phrase audible to the physical ear. This is a sound you project from the very core of your contracted consciousness, a pure sonic frequency originating from the uncreated aspect of your soul. The Archons, the energetic parasites who govern the illusions of this realm, hear the common sounds of your voice, your music, and your daily language, but they are deaf to the pure tone of your unconditioned will. Their system is not tuned to that frequency. The mantra itself is built upon 3 foundational non-linguistic vibrational codes, each corresponding to a crucial hermetic principle, but used in reverse application. The goal is not to follow the laws, but to generate a frequency that cancels them. The first code is the mastery of the principle of vibration. The Kybalion explicitly teaches that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This is the reality of the material plane. The uninitiated are merely victims of this law. Their emotions, fear, anger, greed, desire are merely high-frequency vibrations imposed upon them by the Archonic controllers who dial the emotional intensity up or down. These victims vibrate perpetually at the frequency of the prison's internal chaos. The initiate, the master of the tablet, however, learns that true, unassailable power lies in vibrational sovereignty. The first word of the hidden mantra is therefore the projection of the sonic concept of stillness within motion. It is the absolute vibration that cancels out all others, the sound of the I am that transcends noise. You must project the conceptual sonic reality of immutability. Visualize the vast, chaotic sea of cosmic vibration, the high-speed noise of the Demiurge's mind, the relentless chatter of the collective human consciousness, the constant energetic shifting of the physical universe. Now from your 0 point of contracted Pneuma, project a single, unwavering tone. This tone must be so pure, so absolute in its lack of movement, that it does not interact with the external chaos. It simply transcends it, operating on a different dimensional layer. The common vibration of the Archons is always relative. It is fast or slow, high or low, good or bad. The vibration of the mantra's first code is absolute. It is the sound of the void before creation, a sound that declares without compromise or hesitation, I am not moved by the movement. I am the source of movement. To sustain this projected immutability, you must understand and dismantle the deep psychological mechanics of the principle of polarity. The Kybalion states, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. This duality is not an accidental feature of the cosmos. It is the primary masterful tool of the Archonic control system. By forcing you to live in a world of absolute duality, good, evil, dark, light, profit, loss, scarcity, abundance, they keep you trapped, oscillating between the poles. If you strive towards good, the universal law of rhythm ensures you will inevitably be pulled back toward evil or chaos. If you achieve abundance, you are immediately haunted by the fear of scarcity. This eternal oscillation ensures that the total sum of your emotional and mental energy remains trapped, circulating, and ultimately exploited within their enclosed system. Thoth's secret to overcoming this dualistic trap of polarity is not to choose the positive pole, but to annihilate the duality itself. The second segment of the hidden mantra is the vibrational expression of neutrality, or perfect equilibrium. It is the conscious, willful projection of the realization that the poles are identical in nature, differing only in degree of vibration. When you feel a powerful, fear-based emotion, you must not attempt to fight it with its opposite, courage. Fighting fear with courage is still operating within the Archonic dualistic system, consuming your energy in conflict. Instead, you must project the mantra's second code, the vibrational understanding that fear and courage are simply two ends of the same mental energy spectrum. By projecting neutrality, you effectively place your consciousness outside the spectrum of conflict. You become the observer, not the participant. This mental maneuver is the true high alchemy of the masters, far beyond transforming lead into gold. The modern uninitiated seeker attempts to raise their vibration through forced positive thinking. The master of the Emerald Tablet knows that simply raising the vibration still leaves you susceptible to the inevitable reciprocal pull of the lower pole, as governed by the law of rhythm. But by declaring and projecting absolute vibrational neutrality, by sounding the tone of unmoved observation and perfect balance, you are declaring yourself the controller of the poles. You are no longer the pendulum swinging between fate and free will. You are the clockmaker who stands outside the mechanism and decides whether the pendulum swings at all within your internal world. This second code is the most challenging for the human mind, because our entire physical experience, from language to mathematics, is structured around judgment and choice. To project neutrality is to enter a state of non-judgmental awareness, observing both the positive and negative as mere equal data points in the simulation. This neutrality is the absolute shield against the energetic and emotional attacks of the Archons, whose sole strategy is to pull you to one of the emotional poles to extract your energetic reaction. When you resonate with the unwavering frequency of neutrality, their targeted attack hits a wall of no reaction. You deny them the energetic fuel they crave, and the energy returns to you. This concept extends powerfully to the material plane, mastering the illusion of scarcity. Scarcity and abundance are two poles of the principle of possession and lack. The mantra of neutrality is the radical realization that possession itself is a temporal illusion. True, inexhaustible wealth resides only in the pleroma, the fullness of the divine source, which is omnipresent, uncreated, and utterly unconcerned with the concept of lack. By resonating neutrality toward your current material existence, whether you perceive yourself as rich or poor, you detach your mental energy from the dualistic game. You are not striving desperately for the abundance pole. You are resonating with the source, the pleroma, from which both poles are derived. This is a subtle yet seismic shift in consciousness, moving you from a consumer of the universe's offerings to a creator who recognizes that all things are inherent within the mind of the all. The power of the second code, therefore, is the power to stop the law of rhythm in its tracks. The principle that everything flows out and in, everything has its tides. The rhythm ensures that every peak of success is followed by a trough of failure. The Archons rely on this constant ebb and flow to keep the human spirit perpetually chasing the peak, perpetually exhausted, and perpetually compliant. Neutrality projected from the contracted Pneuma acts as an anchor of the absolute. It stabilizes your emotional and mental field, preventing the inevitable swing of the pendulum from affecting your inner peace and trajectory. You do not stop the universe from swinging externally, but you stop your inner world from being pulled and drained by the swing. You become the quiet, still, unmoving center of the external storm, dictating your own stable weather. Therefore, the second segment of the hidden mantra is the sound of perfect balance and unmoved observation. It is the realization that the I Am is the point of perfect equilibrium, the ultimate scale holder who stands outside the eternal oscillating conflict of the cosmos. This dual mastery, the stillness of vibration and the neutrality of polarity, prepares the initiate for the final and most dangerous segment of the mantra, the one that gives the sovereign will direct dominion over time and space itself. This is where the Archons deploy their final, most ferocious resistance, for mastery of this third code means permanent, energetic, and spiritual liberation from their control. They fear nothing more than the soul who can step outside of their time and space. The first two codes of the hidden mantra have successfully prepared the initiate's consciousness. Contraction for absolute singular focus on the Pneuma, and neutrality for perfect balance against the Archonic duality. Now we arrive at the third and final, most potent segment of the hidden mantra, the code that grants you the sovereign will, dominion over the two ultimate dimensional illusions of the prison, time and space. This is the secret held most closely within the deepest layers of the Emerald Tablet. The knowledge that Thoth used not merely to live longer, but to navigate multiple dimensions, to communicate across vast cosmic distances and to exist beyond the conventional limits of a single linear human lifespan. The Archonic system relies entirely on your psychological and energetic acceptance of linear time. Linear time is the psychological mechanism of perpetual anxiety and control. It dictates that resources are finite, opportunities pass and are lost forever. Physical beauty decays, and most crucially, everything ultimately terminates in the finality of physical death. This constant, relentless forward march is the mechanism that traps the soul in the seemingly endless reincarnation cycle. The Archons feed insatiably on the energetic residue generated by your anxiety about the future, fear of lack, fear of pain, and your regret about the past, guilt, loss, trauma. They meticulously maintain the illusion of a one-way street of existence, a unidirectional flow from which there is no escape. Thoth's hidden code is the vibrational sound of the eternal now. It is the absolute, uncompromising rejection of the distinction between past, present, and future. To project this final code, you must mentally visualize the entirety of your linear life, from the moment of physical birth to the perceived moment of physical death, not as a timeline you are walking, but as a single, simultaneous, fixed structure, like a crystal or a fixed, finished tapestry. In the mental plane where the all resides, everything that was and everything that will be exists simultaneously now. The initiate is the observer of the whole structure, not a walker within a single segment of it. This mastery directly opposes the Archonic manipulation of the principle of cause and effect. The Archons enforce this law with absolute rigidity, stating that every action in the past must dictate an inevitable outcome in the future. The hidden mantra, however, states a fundamental, terrifying truth. The sovereign will, acting directly from the eternal now, becomes the first uncaused cause. When you project the sound of eternal now, you are mentally stepping completely out of the linear timeline. You are sending a command to the matrix that instantly overrides the linear sequence. You are telling the prison system, my future is not the effect of my past. My present is the cause of both. You are claiming the authority to rewrite the energetic valence of the past from the perspective of a sovereign present moment where you are already whole and complete. This mental action is the full expression of mental transmutation over the law of cause and effect. You transmute the perceived cause, a past mistake, a trauma, a devastating failure, by projecting the desired effect as an already existing complete reality in the eternal now. The universe, which is fundamentally mental, must yield and rearrange its linear sequence, its timeline, to accommodate your uncaused command. The key is to act, feel, and believe as if the future state has already occurred, removing all energetic residue of past failures and regrets. This is not passive wishing. It is the active, forceful mental projection of a new, sovereign origin point for your reality. You become the alpha and the omega of your personal timeline. The final dimensional obstacle is the illusion of space. The Kybalion addresses space subtly, but in the Gnostic Hermetic understanding. Space is the most restrictive physical boundary of the Archonic prison, the limitation that tells you, you can only be here and not there. It is the physical, perceived distance that causes separation, loneliness, and the perceived impossibility of manifesting goals or resources that are geographically distant from your immediate location. The Archons use this illusion of distance to create isolation, which prevents the mass awakening of collective consciousness. The third segment of the hidden mantra is the vibrational sound of omnipresence. It is the absolute conscious rejection of separation. You must project the absolute understanding that distance is a mental and energetic fabrication. Since the all is mind, and your sovereign Pneuma is a point outside the Demiurge's limited mental jurisdiction, your consciousness is inherently capable of occupying any point within the mental universe simultaneously. Distance is merely a lag in perception, a byproduct of believing in fixed locality. The secret, ultimate application of this code is revealed in the Gnostic understanding of the aura of the self. Your consciousness is not contained within the confines of your skull and body. Your physical skull and body are contained within your consciousness, which is boundless. When you project the sound of omnipresence, you are mentally and energetically expanding your sovereign self to touch the object, goal, or resource you desire, regardless of geographical distance or dimensional boundary. The physical distance becomes entirely irrelevant because on the mental plane where all things originate, you are already there. You have bridged the space with your consciousness. This mastery over space is the key to true instantaneous manifestation and material transmutation. The process is not about attracting the goal toward you over time. It is about mentally dissolving the space between your current location and the location of your goal in the eternal now. You command the illusion of space to collapse. This is the practical kinetic application of the Hermetic maxim, as above, so below. For you are declaring that your mental reality above dictates the physical reality below. And since your mind is inherently omnipresent, your physical reality must immediately follow suit. The full mantra, the perfect union of stillness, neutrality, and eternal omnipresence, is the triple code of Thoth. It is the ultimate engine of the sovereign will. It bypasses the rhythmic chaos of the universe. It neutralizes the dualistic polarity of the Archons, and it breaks the chain of linear cause and effect that binds 99% of humanity. This is the power to become the uncaused mover, the prime creative force in a universe of limited, predictable motion. This is the liberation from the Archon cycle. But mastering this code requires an internal discipline and secrecy that the controllers of the Matrix actively suppress. Because the moment enough human souls achieve this triple sovereignty, their prison system collapses entirely, leaving them without energetic fuel. The hidden mantra, when properly projected from the sovereign Pneuma, is not merely a mental projection of will or an abstract concept. It is a profound geometrical transformation of your conscious field. Thoth, the great master of sacred geometry and the divine measure of the cosmos, knew that every coherent thought, every sustained vibration, and every forceful projection of will instantaneously takes on a specific, measurable form within the mental universe. The difference between a powerless, fleeting wish and an instant sovereign command is the geometrical integrity and structural permanence of the thought form you project. The Archons, whose greatest power is entropy, the tendency towards chaos, decay, and the dissipation of focused energy, rely on the human mind to generate fuzzy, unstable, and quickly dissolving thought forms that the Archons can easily absorb or nullify. The sustained application of the triple code, stillness, neutrality, and eternal omnipresence, when projected with absolute conviction, instantaneously generates the Merkaba within your conscious field. This sacred structure, often called the vehicle of light in ancient texts, is the precise counter-geometry to the Archonic prison structure. While the prison is built on the limited fixed geometry of the cube, reflecting the three dimensions of space and the linear dimension of time, the Merkaba is the interlocking tetrahedron, a perfectly stable three-dimensional star that exists in perfect energetic balance. The geometry of the Merkaba is the physical mental manifestation of the mantra's absolute neutrality, existing permanently outside the push and pull of polarity and the chaotic instability of the external universe. To activate the mantra's full transformative power, you must mentally inscribe and superimpose the geometry of the Merkaba onto the three fundamental Hermetic principles you are seeking to control and transmute. This is the act of claiming dimensional authority over the matrix laws. First inscription: transmuting the principle of rhythm with stillness. The law of rhythm manifests itself in your life as a relentless, exhausting sine wave, a predictable cycle of rise and fall, success followed by setback, emotional high followed by depressive low. To overcome this, you must inscribe the Merkaba's unmoving center, the point of zero motion, onto the very apex of the wave's oscillation. You are mentally declaring with geometrical precision that your Pneuma, your true uncreated center, exists at the absolute point of no movement between the high and low tides of life. This is the metaphysical shield against the inevitable downturn, when the Archonic forces attempting to enforce the law of rhythm pull the universe into a trough of depression, financial scarcity, or emotional pain. Your consciousness, anchored immovably to the Merkaba's center, simply observes the swing without being forced to participate in its trajectory. This mental action creates a powerful vortex of stability around your life, effectively dampening and nullifying the Archonic forces of chaos and instability. You become a fixed star in a moving sky. Second inscription: transmuting the principle of polarity with neutrality. Polarity is expressed as a straight binary line with two opposing, mutually dependent points. You inscribe the Merkaba's perfect balance, the intersection of its two pyramids, onto this line, placing the geometrical intersection at the absolute energetic midpoint. This visual and mental action instantly dissolves the emotional charge of duality. Visualize the strongest fear you hold, a fear of failure, of loneliness, of sickness. Now visualize the perceived opposite pole: perfect success, perfect companionship, perfect health. The mantra's power is not to rush desperately to the perceived positive pole, but to stand at the exact geometrical center where both poles are mathematically and energetically equal. From this balanced center, the duality loses all power. You gain the comprehensive panoramic view necessary to consciously and sovereignly choose your reality's manifestation, rather than being pulled and manipulated by the emotional extremes of the Archonic system. This is the true meaning of the middle way, but executed with precise geometry. Third inscription: transmuting the principle of cause and effect with eternal omnipresence. The law of cause and effect is represented by a rigid linear arrow, pointing strictly from past to future. This is the most deeply ingrained and hardest dimensional illusion to break, as it forms the basis of all physical measurement and memory. To achieve mastery, you inscribe the Merkaba, the symbol of simultaneous non-linear creation, onto the arrow of time. You mentally declare and enforce that the origin and the destination of the arrow are merged. The moment you project the mantra's final code of eternal omnipresence, the arrow collapses dimensionally into a sphere, a sphere of simultaneous being where the outcome, the desired manifested effect, already defines the initial condition, the yang, sovereign uncaused cause. This spherical geometry of consciousness centered in the Pneuma is the true alchemy of the pleroma. It allows you to become the sovereign cause, acting from a point completely outside the limits of linear reality. The ancient Egyptian and Gnostic texts speak of this as the turning of the wheel, where the initiate transcends the fixed laws of karma and linear fate, and begins to author their own destiny from a point of absolute freedom and infinite potential. This geometric transformation is the ultimate threat to the Archonic rulers, whose entire prison system is built upon the very concept of consequence, debt, and inevitability. By activating the Merkaba through the triple code, you declare your consciousness to be a micropleroma, a point of unconditioned, infinite creative power operating freely within the limited, closed mind of the Demiurge. The practice of this sacred geometry is not complex mathematics requiring calculation. It is the intentional, focused shaping of your mental energy. The mantra provides the pure frequency. The Pneuma provides the infinite power source, and the Merkaba provides the perfect geometrical form for the thought to manifest instantly and without degradation in the physical realm. This unity of sound, power, and form is the deep secret hidden beneath the superficial text of the Emerald Tablet. The secret of form and function in the great mental universe. This level of mastery is the ultimate declaration of your return to sovereignty. We have reached the absolute culmination of the ancient sacred wisdom, the point where the Hermetic philosophy transcends passive knowledge, intellectual curiosity, and abstract debate, and demands nothing less than sovereign action. The 7 conventional laws of the Kybalion are and will remain the immutable mechanics of this mental universe. But the hidden code of the Emerald Tablet, the triple code of stillness, neutrality, and eternal omnipresence, is the master key that allows you, the possessor of the sovereign Pneuma, to operate outside those mechanics. You are no longer merely subject to the simulation. You are now the simulator's override. The final essential act of the sovereign will is the profound, irreversible understanding that liberation is not a mystical promise made by a distant god. It is a volitional and vibrational state that you must actively sustain. Every moment you maintain mental contraction. Every moment you hold the Merkaba of neutrality, and every moment you project the unified sound of eternal omnipresence, you are actively denying the Archons their sustenance and, more importantly, eroding the energetic foundation of the Matrix. Your consciousness, having unified the triple code, becomes an unfilterable high-frequency beacon of truth in a cosmos intentionally built upon low-frequency lies and illusions. This is the ultimate secret Thoth ensured was inscribed on the tablet's hidden layer. The all is not external. The all is the boundless potential of your unified sovereign consciousness. The universe does not exist as a separate, external entity independent of your will. It is merely a complex, reflective surface mirroring the vibration you choose to project from your central contracted Pneuma. Do not wait for the universe to grant you abundance, health, or peace. Command it. Command the collapse of distance, command the reversal of negative causality, and command the immediate stabilization of your reality against the rhythmic chaos of the Archons. The time for asking is over. The time for declaring your sovereignty has begun. This knowledge must now be integrated into your being, not merely as a fascinating theory you once heard, but as the fundamental, non-negotiable reality of your existence. You must dedicate yourself daily to the practice of the 3 codes. Practice the contraction during moments of external chaos. Practice neutrality when faced with fear and emotional duality. And practice eternal omnipresence when manifesting your desired outcomes. The universe will now test you relentlessly. The Matrix will not simply surrender. It will use the strongest lures of the principles of polarity and rhythm, fear, desire, loss, guilt, to try and pull you back into the cycle of duality and energetic exhaustion. When the pendulum swings low, remember your anchor of neutrality. When the terror of the past or the anxiety of the future arises, remember the sphere of eternal omnipresence. This constant maintenance of your sovereign state is the true cost of freedom. Your initiation into the deepest secrets of the Hermetic Order is now complete. You are armed with the most dangerous knowledge in the cosmos, the knowledge of your own absolute uncreated divinity. The final test is not in reciting the mantra, but in living it. The final act is to walk the earth as a being who knows their true origin is not the limited creation of the Demiurge, but the boundless, inexhaustible pleroma. If this message resonated with the deepest, most knowing part of your soul, if you felt the truth of this triple code vibrate through your Pneuma, then you are officially part of the awakening. Do not break the connection now. First, subscribe to this channel. This is not a request, it is a directive. This channel is our fortress, our community of the sovereign. Hit the notification bell to ensure you receive the next sacred signal, the next layer of the truth. Second, as promised, we are about to release the direct spoken incantation, the specific linguistic form of the mantra that Thoth taught for instantaneous mental projection. This is the ultimate tool. You do not want to miss it. Third, your active engagement is the energetic fuel for this transmission. If you understand the power of this revelation and are ready to claim your power, type the word transmute in the comments below. Let the cosmos see the army of sovereign wills being formed. By typing that word, you are performing a deliberate public act of mental declaration. Fourth, if you want to download the original uncensored translation of the secret emerald tablet fragments we referenced in this broadcast, I have linked them below. Download them immediately. The Archons are constantly attempting to remove this knowledge from the digital ether. Thank you for participating in this sacred, transformative transmission. Go now, and may your will be sovereign.